So we are saying the best attitude towards the Shastram is don't conclude what you don't understand. When you don't understand something, don't conclude that the Shastram is wrong. Say that it must be right because it's a pramanam. Let me try how it is right. Let me understand. I should look at it more closely. So, Shastram being pramanam, I must really understand how it is right. That's called Shraddha. Shastreshu Guru Vakyeshu Satyatva Buddhi. What the scripture says must be right. Must be right. I must see how it is right. The moment I see, oh, this is how it is right, then it is right. Then it is my knowledge. Rather than just conclude that it must be wrong, just because it runs counter to a given perceived phenomenon. It not good. Thus, Udgita need not be japa. Udgita is also for upasana. Actually, this whole paragraph comes, the Purvapakshi says, I can't believe that the sense organs are impure and the life is pure. Says when the Shastra is saying life is pure, life should be pure. Life is pure. Meaning what? To live is not impurity, but temptation is impurity. Wrong action is impurity. One's life and one's existence are not two things being. Because I am living. Life is felt as oneself. Truth also is felt as oneself. With embodiment it is oneself. Without the body also is oneself. Prana, Mukhya Prana is sinless. Life is sinless. To be is sinless. Then what has sins? Only the senses. Meaning the wrong actions influenced by temptations. Simple. That's all. That's useful for human beings. And that is the truth also. Therefore, life is sinless. To be alive is sinless. But to tell a lie is a sin. Because the law of karma is very beautiful, ji. Both Anandadayak hai, if you listen. Can God punish you for being alive? Can God punish you for being alive? Can God reward you for being alive? No. God can only reward for good deeds. He can reward you for good deeds. He can punish you for actual. Karma comes under law of karma, not existence. Existence to be, I am, even as an individual, to be doesn't come under law of karma. Why? Because it is sinless. Oh, you breathed, therefore go to heaven. Oh, you breathed, therefore you go to hell. Can God say that? If I were to go to God and God were to say this to me, you breathed and then I would say to Bhagavan, you are also breathing, come along with me. Why don't you give me company in hell? Kya baat hai ji? Our problem is not that we are alive. Our problem is not our existence. Our problem is fundamentally ignorance about our existence. And our problem is doing wrong things. Instead of working for knowledge, we work against it. Instead of working for clarity, we work against it. Instead of working for happiness, we keep working against it. That's our problem. Therefore, existence is sinless. Life is sinless. Life is sinless. Deeds are good or bad. We need to rectify our thinkings, our actions. That is said here, Bhashyakara. It's all done by Bhashyakara. It is all not somebody's, it is all Bhashyakara. Understand Bhashyakara means it is not a glory of Shankaracharya, it is a glory of the tradition. Because he is only writing down what he received as the tradition. You understand, you know? It's like if somebody writes a book on Bharatanatyam, is it his own? Received. Yes. It is the tradition of India. It is the parampara that he received from his teacher. He is putting it down. Till then it was Karna parampara. Just listening and transferring to another. This is called Karna parampara. Then Shankaracharya thought, my God, is this Karna parampara? Later on we don't know, it may just disappear. It has to be written down. Then they started thinking, that it needs to be written down. Then he put it in black and white, what he received it. Now tell me, whose glory is it? Is the Bhashyam whose glory? Shankaracharya's glory or Parampara's? Parampara. It can be traced not to an individual, it can be traced to Parampara. And Parampara, like the universe can be traced to Ishvara, this Vedic Parampara also can only be traced to Ishvara. These eyes and ears can be traced to, all Pramanas can be traced to Ishvara. Where can you trace your eyes to? Tell me. Sight can be traced to the truth. Yes. Your entire mind can be traced to the truth, the source. Like waves, can you trace them somewhere else other than water? Thus, Bhagavan says here, Viparye chanartha prapti darshanat yohi viparye yogartham pratipajyate loke purusham sthanuhu iti amitram mitramiti va so anartham prapnuvan drishyate. Up to that. In this world, if you take the post for a man, you suffer. You take the rope for a snake, you suffer. You take the shell for a silver, you suffer. You take the sand for mirage, you suffer. Means what? You unnecessarily waste your time thinking that it is real. Just as in this world, any mistake makes you suffer. Any wrong perception in God's creation can make you suffer. In the same manner, a wrong interpretation of the scripture also makes you suffer. Bahut badi baat hai ji. A wrong perception of an object can make you suffer. In the same manner, wrong interpretation of the scripture also can make you suffer. Because suffering is the result of wrong perception. Suffering is the result of wrong interpretation of the scripture. Yohi viparyayena artham pratipadyate loke purusham sthanu amitram mitramiti. An enemy you mistake for a friend. Will you enjoy or suffer? Happens to be your enemy, but you take him as friend. You will suffer. Any misconception, there are no such a things called an advantageous misconception. Maybe to begin with. Like, happens to be a shell, and then you take it for a silver. So for the first few seconds you enjoy it. Oh, I have found silver. This is called temporary joy, followed by permanent frustration. Haji. Happens to be a shell, but you see it as a silver. For a few seconds, what do you think? Chalo, I have found silver. I'll take it to the market. I'll make an ornament, get an ornament made, and present it to my housewife, my wife, and she will be very happy. And he even makes a promise, I'm going to bring some silver ornament, etc. He is very happy until he goes near and finds it is not silver, but it is shell. Temporary joy followed by permanent frustration. That means what? There is no misconception which does not end up in only unhappiness. All misconceptions end up in unhappiness. That is why, just as in this world misconceptions give you only unhappiness, while studying Shastra, misinterpretation also can make you unhappy. Therefore, don't interpret Udgita as mere japa. It is also meditation on Mukhya Prana. And don't conclude life is sinful. Understand, life is sinless. Your wrong thoughts are sinful. Wrong deeds are sinful. Wrong words are sinful. But life itself is sinless. Because it is directly in touch with the truth. It is the truth. To be and to be breathing are one and the same. To be and to be alive, one and the same. To be and to be alive is one and the same. Saha anartham prapnavan drishyate atma ishvara devatadinamapi. When the Vedanta talks about atma or ishvara or devata, atma ishvara devatadinamapi ayatharthanameva ched, if they are all really not true, if what the scripture says is not true, if that were not true, ched grahanam shrutitaha, if it were all wrong, if Shruti only conveys to me what is not true, all wrong things, anartha praptyartham shastramiti dhruvam prapnuyat lokavadeva, then we are free to conclude, then it would amount to saying that Shastram is a misleader. If it were true that Shastram talks about the wrong things, then the Shastram would be called as a misleader. But can we conclude that Shastram misleads? Therefore, if its description of the self were true is true, if its description of God is true, if its description, and then its description of Devatas also is true. If karma is true, upasana is true, knowledge also is true. If knowledge is true, upasana also is true. When it says Atma is Brahma, it is true. When it says in comparison to the senses, breath is purer, it is true. In comparison to, that is why Bhashyakara says, compared to the sense organs, the breath is purer. And the reason he gives it is rooted in the truth. Therefore, how can we conclude? Therefore, a person who has total Shraddha in what Vedanta Shastram says, what Shastram says, the one who has total Shraddha and guides himself through the vision of the Shastra, he has no problem. He just lives his life guided by Shastram bas. He has no problem. Hamara Shastra ekad hai. And he also uses his common sense, of course. He doesn't become fanatical. Because Vaidika Shastram, there is nothing really that is blatantly wrong. It doesn't say anything blatantly. It says all the right things, but a human being takes little time to appreciate how it is right. Bas itna hi hai. Dhruvam prapnuyat lokavadeva nacha etadishtam. It is not desirable to conclude that Shastram is a misleader, misleading scripture, misleading literature. It is not acceptable to any school. ये तो ना पूर्व पक्षी के लिए इष्ट है ना सिद्धांति के लिए इष्ट है, because they also depend upon the scripture. Therefore, we can't make a conclusion that certain things that the scripture says are right and certain things are wrong. We can't say. Ardha Kukkuta Nyaya is not possible. You can't say some eyes are pramanam, some eyes are not pramanam. You can't say one eye is pramanam, one eye is a pramanam in seeing and another eye is a pramanam in hearing. You can't say. Both are pramanam. You can't, cut a hen, a turkey. You can't cut a turkey into two halves and one half cook and the other half save it for laying eggs. Can you do that? This example Bhashyakara gives in Mandukya Shruti. Bhashyam gives Ardha Kukkuta Nyaya. Kukkuta means hen. Therefore, you can't say Vedanta says a few things rightly, a few things wrongly, you can't say. When it says Atma is pure, it is right. When it says life is pure, it is right. Tasmat, therefore, yatha bhutaneva atma ishvara devatadin grahayati upasanartham shastram. Therefore, shastram always talks about Ishvara to help you meditate on. It talks about Devatas to help you meditate on. It talks about the Atma so that you can ultimately understand. Either it helps you to do a good deed or helps you to meditate on something, on a given truth, or helps you understand the truth. Karma is useful for us, upasana is useful for us, knowledge is useful for us. Therefore, when the Shastra says prana is pure, why? Because you can also understand, because you cannot be tempted by breath. You can see and be tempted. You can see and be tempted by a form. You can hear and be tempted, taste and be tempted, touch and be tempted, smell and be tempted. But you can't breathe and be tempted. Can you breathe and be tempted? Do like this. And tempted for what? Breathe out perhaps. When you breathe in, Uchvasliya. Such a simple thing, see. They are very beautiful things. Simple but very, very beautiful. We are never, breath is pure, life itself is pure, it is existence. To be and to be alive is pure. And it is bliss, it is peace. To be is peace. To be alive is peace. What is the problem in that? But if I am struggling for something, then that disturbs. To be is peace, that is one's nature. To do is struggle. To be is peace. And what are we? Fundamentally, to be is what we are. We are just a being. We are not the doers. We decide, we choose to be the doers, but we are choicelessly the being. Choicelessly we are. By choice we do something. Choice is a part of struggle. Choice is a part of struggle. Choice is a part of samsara. Whereas truth is choiceless. It is independent of choice. You can't choose not to be. Bahut badi baat hai ji. And therefore you are not being by choice. If we can choose to be, if you can also choose not to be, then you are being by choice. But can you choose not to be? Can you choose not to be? Yes, Swamiji, I can go to the tip of a mountain and die. Top of the mountain and jump and die. There also, you are only choosing to destroy a form, not to be. That's not possible. To be is choiceless. And therefore, here Bhagavan says, now, and therefore, sir, when the Shruti says, the breath is, life is sinless, it's right. And if you interpret it otherwise, you will suffer. You will be misled in your inquiry. Because even to understand the truth, ultimately you have to understand the whole existence, the whole universe is rooted in the truth. I am not rooted in the universe is rooted in my being. My existence is not rooted in the body. My existence is not rooted in the breath, but the breath is rooted in the truth. My existence is not rooted in perceptions, but perceptions are rooted in one's existence. In this manner, ultimately, the reversal of conclusion is right understanding. What is right knowledge? Reversal of wrong knowledge. Yes, really. Just the opposite of the wrong is the right. Just the opposite of the right, just the opposite of the wrong is right. Just the opposite of the thought that I am the body is the right. I am not the body. That is called, neti neti. Neti neti is nothing but reversing all the obtaining universal conclusions. Are you able to follow? Anyway, I am through with this topic, before you get bored. Now I am going to, he says, don't imagine, sir, Purva Siddhanti says, When you worship God, the truth in a given form, you have no misconception. This you have to hear, Ji, with particular. When Indians worship God in a form, they have no misconception at all. They know God is formless, but they are only worshipping it in a form. This is the difference between form and God. God is unlimited, but I am worshipping Him in the limited. God is formless, but I am only worshipping Him in the form. So what? Supposing I conclude that He is a form, that is a misconception. But if I know He is formless, but I am only worshipping a form, is it a misconception? No. In an upasana, you see the difference between the pratima. Pratima means, that where you worship, and the pratima and Ishvara, you always see the difference. When you go to Gangaji and worship Gangaji as a Devata, you know Gangaji is Vata, Devata is Devata, but I am worshipping it. This is Vishnu, statue of a Vishnu, but I am worshipping the Lord, the all-pervasive Vishnu in this form. I see the difference between the statue and the truth, God, and still impose and see worship it in it. Is it a misconception? In all worships we are deliberate. We know the difference. We know the difference between where we worship and what we worship. Where we worship is different from what we worship. Where we worship is a statue. What we worship is the truth. And people without understanding, in fact, the most beautiful thing is this. The easiest thing to make man prayerful, religious, spiritual is help him worship the source of everything in everything. God is the source of every form. Worship Him in every form. Worship Him in any form. What is wrong? That means your whole life becomes religious. Tree is God, the sun is God, the moon is God. You perceive God's presence in everything. You worship God's presence in everything. Shankaracharya very rarely talks about all these things. Here he is talking. That's why I am going to take some time. Nama Dau. He doesn't talk all these things. He loves to talk about Atma Brahma. That Mahavakyam matches his brilliance. But once in a while, when he comes across some jokers, and in order to help some jokers, he helps two kinds of people. He has to help the serious students plus the jokers. When he has to help the jokers, he has to talk about, Bhaiya, ye sab theek hi hai. There is nothing wrong in it. Don't imagine temple. What is temple? It is worshipping God. If you go there for money, etc., that you edit. But worship itself is sinless. But through that worship, your temptations may be sinful. You understand? That worship itself is sinless. See? What is wrong in that? Hey Bhagavan, give me money. That you edit. Your motives you can edit. Your intentions you may edit. But worship itself is sinless. That you don't have to edit. It's very beautiful. God, you are there everywhere, and you offer a flower to Bhagavan there in whatever form you are worshipping, you offer. And that flower is received by Bhagavan because there is nobody else to receive. Only Bhagavan only receives, Ji. And Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, I take it, Ashnami. He says, I eat, he says, my God. I cherish, I enjoy. He says, I eat whatever you offer. One says. Anyway, these are all things, very subtle things in life to understand. Very, very subtle things. It's like, your granddaughter. 3-year-old granddaughter comes with a vada to you, says, Nani or Dadi, whatever be the case, please eat this vada. And you say, Nahi, aap kha lo. He says, na, aap kha lo thoda. And then you touch it and say, acha, I have eaten it, now you take it. You haven't eaten it, but haven't you eaten it? You haven't eaten it, but haven't you eaten it? And in return, haven't you blessed that child? Yes. It's like that. And therefore, don't think, Namadau. The day India loses its tradition of worshipping God in various forms, it has become poor. The rich, religiously rich country, spiritually rich country will suddenly collapse and become poverty-stricken religiously and spiritually. The day and all the foreign powers, those who always want to, there are always jokers around who try to, they will all the time talk about idol worship. We don't worship idols, we worship only God. We worship God through an idol. It is not even idol, it is murti, it is his own creation. It is like worshipping the ocean through a wave. What is wrong in that? Nor is it inferior to self-knowledge, because it prepares you for self-knowledge. Worshipping truth prepares you to understanding it. Worshipping God prepares you to understand. Such a beautiful sentiment. Devotion to God is such a beautiful sentiment. Some people say, these temples I don't like, this ritual. What is even a ritual? Ritual is not bad. In the name of ritual, when the exploitation takes place, that is what you don't like, actually. It's not the ritual. Ritual is beautiful, but in the name of a ritual, if somebody is exploiting somebody, then we get into jitters. Then we say, oh, these are all useless. Ritual itself is so colorful, so beautiful. That fire is burning is so beautiful to sit around it. Early morning you have a bath, sit around, fire lit, create a oven, and then recite some mantras. It's enjoyable. What is wrong in that? No, Swamiji. Then what is enjoyable? Putho. Take the pack of wills out. Kursi mein baito. Lit a cigarette. Take a cup of tea. Mix both. Maybe. If you perform Havan, it promises you heaven later after life. But this gives you heaven right now. Are you able to follow? Hey Rama, this gives you heaven. You think it is going to give you heaven, but it is slowly paving the way to hell. It's very difficult to understand what builds happiness for you and what builds unhappiness. In fact, what builds, You should always do things which can slowly build happiness. They build, disciplines build happiness for you. Indiscipline in the beginning you may enjoy it, but slowly it builds unhappiness. And therefore, anyway, Indians don't dislike rituals. I have talked to people who even say we don't like rituals. But I ask them, what exactly in the ritual that you don't like? Oh, they ask for this money, that money, they do. That means what? There are certain exploitations, certain biases practiced in the name of the ritual. That you avoid. But ritual itself is very beautiful. You go to the temple, maybe certain practices there you may not like, but the temple itself is beautiful. So we have to reform the human attitudes. We don't have to renounce the right traditions. We don't have to renounce the right traditions, but reform the human attitudes. That's why here Bhagavan says, Nama Dau, in the name and form. Nama, name and form. You see, we worship God in both name and form. Om, we say in that sound we worship God. Om is a word, we worship God in that word. And we worship God in a pratima, in a form also. Ganesh this form or Durga form, any form, these are also. I have been telling this, people take it very, very lightly, but it's a very serious matter. Indian economy, the wheels of Indian, the engines of Indian economy is kept running. The wheels are kept moving, Indian economy, by the day-to-day tyavhars of the country, religious tyavhars. Diwali, my God, economy flies. Marriages, you may say this, you can always edit, but that color which goes with the marriage, why should you abandon it? Those who can, let them. If you don't want, you don't. But let that, because in each marriage, I tell you, it moves the economy. There is a buying and selling and there's so much. It is good for the economy. It's a lively country, it's a lively culture, I'm telling you. It is not a sedate, samshanam. This graveyard profundity I don't like. Graveyard profundity, everybody is profound, silent. What is this profundity? Graveyard profundity. Everybody is silent, quiet. It is a graveyard silence. Who is interested in it? We want color. We want color and mirth and enjoying. Society can't survive without these traditions. I am telling you, Indian society will simply collapse. Minus these beautiful traditions. I am all for them. Please don't misunderstand me. I teach Brahma Vidya, but I will never accept that this Brahma Vidya is contrary to these traditions or these traditions are contrary to Brahma Vidya. Bhashyakara says there is no contradiction between rituals and Brahma Vidya. Rituals are meant for one objective, Brahma Vidya is for another objective. There is no contradiction between eyes and ears. Eyes are for something and ears are for something. Make use of both. It is only when you perform a ritual for moksha then it is a contradiction. Supposing you perform a ritual for something nice, what is wrong in that? These traditions I can never. I am not a big, popular, well-known, renowned Swami. But whosoever I teach, But I tell what is Shastra is talking, and that is these traditions discover their glory. They are very beautiful. Ekadashi Vratam, I tell you, keeps you in good health. One day fasting in a fortnight is great. Even compulsively if you fast, it is good. What is wrong in that? The women fast for their husband's health. What is wrong in that? Is there something like that in the world? Wives fasting for the good health of the husbands. You tell this to the American men, sirs. They will smile behind their sleeves. They start giggling. What are you talking? Fasting for the husband? And they go to the restaurants and we are fasting here. But in this country it's such a beautiful thing. These things, this religion, the visible part of Indian Vedic culture is the religion, spiritual, the visible culture should not be disowned. I don't think so. They can be reformed but not disowned. What is to be reformed is not the certain. In some places the very parampara needs to be reformed. Sometimes human attitude needs to be reformed. Yes. Okay, ji. Namadau Brahma Drishtihi. I am going to explain to you word by word without getting bored. Listen. Brahma Drishtihi means seeing, feeling the presence of God in every object. Feeling the presence. Feeling the presence. There is, when Bhagavan is unlimited, he should be here also. When Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlada, where is your Bhagavan Vishnu? You say all the time, Hari, 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 Hari. Where is your Hari? Then Prahlada says he is everywhere. And he says, is he there in this wall? He says, yes, of course, he is there in the wall. If Bhagavan is unlimited, I am sure he is there in the wall also. And then he breaks the wall, and there comes Narasimha, the law. The law protects the bhakta, I am telling you. The law protects the bhakta. If a bhakta has the belief, he has put all his trust in the truth will never let him down. That is the law of karma. The law of karma is such that when a bhakta puts all his trust in Ishvara, and he will never let him down. And he will come out in that manner. Brahma Drishti, feeling the presence of Ishvara in the object. Brahma Drishti Darshanat Ayuktamiti. Purvapakshi here says, this is a kind of a doubt here. Sir, according to you, what is Upasana? Seeing God's presence in an object. Feeling God's presence in a sound. Or feeling God's presence in a word like Omkara. Or feeling God's presence in a statue, an object, is called Upasana. Now, according to the Purvapakshi, it is a contradiction. How can you see God's presence in an object? Ayuktam, it is untenable. Namado Brahmadrishti Darshanat Ayuktamiti Chet Sputam Nama Namadehe Abrahmatvam. Sir, if you say Upasana is Brahmadrishti in the Nama, if you say that Upasana is Brahmadrishti in a form, Rupa, Purvapakshi says, then it is untenable. That chet should be forwarded. Namadau Brahma Drishtihi Chet. Namadau Brahma Drishtihi Chet. Then we say, again we have to read, Brahma Drishti Darshanad Ayuktam, it is untenable. You all say, seeing a Brahman in a sound is Upasana, seeing a Brahman in an object is Upasana, hey Siddhanti, but it is untenable. Why? Namadehe Abrahmatvam. A form is evidently not Brahma. A sound is evidently not Brahma. A sound is evidently not unlimited. A word is evidently not unlimited. A form is evidently not unlimited. Then how can you see the unlimited Brahman in them? And therefore, feeling or seeing the presence of the unlimited in the name and form is untenable. Who is saying? Purva Pakshi is saying, Ji, don't by mistake say also it is Siddhanti. It's a Purva Pakshi. Tatra Brahma Drishtim Sthanvadaviva Purusha Drishtim. According to the Purva Pakshi, seeing God's presence, feeling God's presence. Feeling God's presence in an object, it is a contradiction and it is like seeing a man in a sthana. You know sthana Purusha? Just as seeing a Purusha in sthanu is a misconception, similarly seeing God in an object also is a misconception. Are you able to follow what I am saying? According to Purva Paksha, worshipping God in a form is a misconception. Seeing God's presence in a form is a misconception. Like seeing a man in a post is a misconception. According to this opponent, according to this Purva Pakshi, worshipping God in a form, in a name and form is all a misconception. Tatra Brahma Drishtim Sthanvadaviva Purusha Drishtim Viparitam Grahayat Shastram Drishyate. That means if Shastra recommends Upasana, Shastra is recommending misconception. Baba. If Shastram recommends Upasana, Brahma Drishti in Prana, Brahma Drishti in Omkara, Brahma Drishti in the world, Brahma Drishti in a Pratima. If Shastra is recommending Upasana, then it is only recommending a misconception. I am going to explain it to you very well. Understand the difference between misconception and Upasana. आपको समझना पड़ेंगे इसको समझेंगे तो आनंद है. हाँ जी. Therefore, now Purva Pakshi concludes, Tasmat yatharthameva shastrataha pratipattehe shreyaha iti ayuktam iti chetan. Therefore, my dear Siddhanti, how can you say Shastram always talks about the right thing, not the wrong thing? All that the Shastram says is right, never the wrong iti. How can you take the stand? And how can also take the stand not to understand the Shastram, not to follow the Shastram as it says will only deny you moksha, etc. How can you say? How can you argue in favor of the Shastra when it is also recommending Upasana? When it is recommending Upasana, it is recommending misconception. Upasana is interpreted as a misconception. God is unlimited. How can you worship Him in the limited? It's a misconception. Iti. And somebody, when after Shivratri day, a rat went up the Shivalinga. A rat, poor rat. Everybody is getting prasadam in Shiva Mandir. Why should the rat deny itself the prasadam? When you don't, supposing, nobody gave prasada to the rat. Everybody else came and you gave prasada to everybody. A poor rat has been waiting there in the hole since morning, and you never gave it a prasada. Naturally, a rat should be wise enough to come back, to come out of the hole and go up the Shivalingam and enjoy the shoulders of Bhagavan and eat some prasadam. And somebody saw that, how can, if Shivalinga is Bhagavan, how can it allow a rat such a bad thing? For you, rat is a rat. For Bhagavan, rat also is himself. Are you able to follow? These are all funny things. And now Bhashyakara is going to explain. Now, the topic that I am going to tell you now is the difference between misconception and upasana. Bhashyakara doesn't come up with this topic very often. This is it. In a misconception, you don't see the difference between the reality and the concept. You have the concept of a man in the post, but you don't see the post. You really miss the post. You totally miss the post and mistake it for a man. So in a misconception, you don't see the difference between misconception and the locus. In a misconception, you miss the reality and mistake it for something. That is called a misconception. You don't see the difference. But in an upasana, you see the difference between the limited and also the unlimited. You know this is not unlimited. This is only a form. God is unlimited. He is conscious. But I am only using this limited form to think of Him. To remember the unlimited, I am using the limited. I am using the limited to remember the unlimited. In this there is no misconception. It's like I am using the ladder. Ladder is different from the building. Our ladder is different from a tree. But I am using the ladder to climb the tree. I am using the ladder to climb the tree. But I see the difference between the ladder and the tree. Therefore, in all upasanas, we see the difference between the object and God. We see the difference between the limited and the unlimited. But we know that we are using the limited to invoke the grace of the unlimited. We invoke the grace. Hey Bhagavan, help me. When you say you are invoking His grace. When you go to your parents and say nicely, Mummy, please help me, will not Mummy help you? Papa, help me, will not Papa help you? Similarly, when you say to Bhagavan, hey Bhagavan, help me, will He not help? I don't think so. He definitely helps thee. Once in a while, you can say, hey Bhagavan, thoda kam so jao. नींद से उठो, हमें मदद करो. Therefore, please understand, learn to seek help from divinity. Learn to seek help from divinity. If you learn how to seek help from divinity, you will feel less helpless in life. You will feel less helpless in life. If you don't know how to seek help from divinity, you will feel more helpless. Even in a small situation, you can always close your eyes and say, Bhagavan, help me. In that way it creates a new hope. Every prayer creates a new hope. And every new hope is good for your mind. And every new hope heals your mind and body. And every despair harms your mind and body. And prayer creates a new hope. Every prayer creates a new hope, and every new hope heals your body and mind. Therefore, learn to seek help from the divinity. That is why here Bhagavan says, Upasana is different from misconception. I am going to see the lines later on, but this much you remember, because in a misconception you miss the reality. You don't see the difference between the Purusha and the Sthanu. Like you say, when you worship Ganga as a Devata, you understand the difference between water and Devata. This is not Devata, this is water, but I am using this water to worship Devata. I am using this statue to worship God. What is the problem in it? In Upasana we see the difference. In a misconception we don't see the difference. This is the difference. Therefore, are the temples a misconception? Are the Upasanas practiced in India a misconception? No. No. Some of the intellectuals may come and fire lecture. Oh, we should do this, we should leave this, do that. It's all passing bad winds. A lot of talkers are passing bad winds, I am telling you. I don't believe in it. Say, human beings require every courage that is available to stand on their feet and move towards the truth. Why should you disown a walking stick? I know walking stick is not the truth, is not Kedarnath, but it can help you. It can help you reach Kedarnath. Supposing you think walking stick itself is Kedarnath, that is misconception. But you see the difference between walking stick and Kedarnath, and use the walking stick and climb. The problem kya hai? You are using the Upasana to move towards the truth. India minus its Upasanas, India minus its Paramparas, beautiful some of the Paramparas, religious Paramparas, spiritual Paramparas, minus the, what we call the, minus the, what we call the moss it has gathered. A certain wrong things that have accumulated. Indian paramparas minus that muck that they have accumulated are wonderful. We don't have to disown the paramparas, we disown the muck. Swamiji, in order to disown the muck, it is better to disown the parampara. Don't throw away the baby with the bath water. Why do you want to throw away the baby? Be a Hansa. Drink milk and leave water. Okay, we'll continue it. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Hari Om. Thank you. Hari Om.